Hey guys, this is Andrew at FloryPB. Today we're going to do something a little different. We're not going to work on an angel. We are going to time a cocker. Specifically this cocker. This is my buddy's cocker. And this is something he picked up, I think maybe last year for really cheap. Didn't have the Eclipse frame on it. It was all basically pitted and destroyed. All of the pneumatics, all the chrome on them. Or the nickel plating, I should say. See some of the pitting here still. And basically all I did was, I took it, I stripped it all down, and I just went whole ass on the thing. I completely machined off all of the nickel finish on the pneumatics, gave it this nice little detail just because, even though they're just WGP pneumatics. Polished everything up, gave it back to him, it ran great. That was with the original WGP Hinge frame on it. He isn't a cocker guy, he wasn't a guy that ran cockers when he was growing up. And I personally liked hinge frames because that was the era of cocker I grew up in. Was my first cocker was an Outkast in 2003. And it was a hinge frame cocker. And, you know, that's just what I'm more comfortable playing with a cocker, specifically an Eclipse Hinge. But I made his hinge pretty nice. And he insisted to be cool and put a slider frame on it. And he tried to do it himself. And he put it on. I think he got it timed. He hated it. He got rid of it. He got this Eclipse frame in a different deal. Put it on. Couldn't get it timed. And it's been sitting like this ever since. So he gave it back to me. And I'm gonna go through the three-way. Just make sure that's all good still. And retime it. Everything else should be okay. Just take a couple parts off. Want to check the bolt. This is something that, you know, I did a lot of just weird little custom work too because I could. And it was a fun little project when I did it. And he went and fucked it all up because that's what he does. Same guy that owns the Angel SE we just did. Coincidentally. So pull the frame off. I'm just taking some inspections. Making sure everything's still good. All right. Frame's in great shape. The hammer, you see I machined the hammer as well. Made it so there's less surface area making contact. Yeah, everything looks pretty okay as is. We're going to just take the timing rod off as well. You don't have to go this crazy. All we had to do is really adjust this, but he has a habit of just disintegrating markers. So I just want to go through it. That shouldn't be this hard to do either, but it is. This is a lot of effort for something that's not going to really be done because this comes out the front here. But just want to pull everything out to be safe. Looks great. That looks really good. Gonna check his bore. Looks as good as the aluminum board WGP stuff looked. That's getting annoying. We'll take that out as well. So this is a hinge frame. First thing we're going to do is make sure he understood how to put his hoses on the hinge frame. The hinge works exactly opposite of a slider frame, how you put your hoses, because when it's back, it pushes forward. And when this goes forward, it has to get air into this front one. Which in this case, he did do it right, because as that goes forward, you can see that right here. When our valve's shut, it's putting air to the backside of our ram up here, and this is sitting in this position. The center is what feeds the air into the three-way, and then it comes through here and goes out here to the back of the ram. So when you push it forward with the hinge frame, it brings air and diverts it to the front of the ram. So we got to get the air here. So yeah, that wired up correctly. I mean, he's got these top hats looking like shit, but doesn't exactly need them. But that's on right. So that's not bad. Everything looks good. I want to swab in there real quick. Hold on a second. Take a Q-tip. Make sure you didn't leave any residue. It's pretty clean looking. Not bad. We'll re-grease the whole thing. We're not going to really grease it. We're going to try to oil it more than anything. But that looks okay. Again, these come through the front on these particular ones. Okay, he's missing his set screw for his screw for his feed neck, of course. And that looks okay. So I'm going to take a very light greasing. We don't want to get this that sticky. Give it some oil because it just gets fed through. Make that good as new. That slid right through. Alright. Think about how I want to hold this thing to show you guys. I don't normally do cockers. On camera at least. So I'm just going to put that back in like that. And put the set screw back in it. I completely screwed up where it was. If you're doing anything with a cocker, I always suggest just be patient. Be as patient as you can. They are extremely finicky. Next, I want to just do this. There's quicker ways to do all this stuff, but I want to try to show the components individually for you. We'll put the trigger frame back on, and we're going to set the hammer drop on the frame, because we want the hammer to drop well before we start actuating the three-way. So we're going to see how light we can make that. See, we're going to see how light we can make that. We're just going to bring it in. You're going to see how long it takes. See, right there is where I want it to start releasing.
just by pressing this lightly, and it's way back there. So we just know that's way too far back. So what we do is we just bring this up a little bit. Bring it out because the hammer's got the lug sticking out of the bottom of it that catches against the sear here. I really want it to be actuating around there. It's getting closer. Another quarter turn. Okay. So my next tip, you try to force it to pass. If it can't pass, it means you got enough bite on it. I think we can go a little bit further. The farther forward we go, the better it's going to be for us. This is a very good frame. It holds on very well. Oh yeah, it's getting to where we want it. You see, that's where it gave up a little bit. It's not giving up much there, but it gave up a little bit. So we're going to bring it back a hair because we want this to be reliable. There's definitely a fine line with keeping a cocker reliable and keeping it as tuned as you can make it. Yeah, I don't mind that. Jesus. Let me get a tool to put these top hats on as well. Top hats are a pain in the ass. But they are very good at keeping your hoses on as well. A little too much hose sticking out the bottom, but they are on. Good enough for him. So the hammer's set right, which is great. Next thing, I'm going to get the rod back in there. I'm going to take this back off just for ease. I said all this could have been done when everything was assembled, but I want to break it apart a little bit, show you guys what's going on with it. So back in the older days, you try to make this as short as you could because you want to have the lightest, quickest stroke possible. But there's something to be said for having a little bit of a longer stroke that's just smoother, lets it act better, and when speed's not the craze anymore, I think people are happy going back to playing like that. This is where we're just going to start guessing here. Might be in enough. We can kind of get a key on where we are from the front here. You want to be as close to the front as possible. But we need air in it to really start checking that. Tighten it down, not too tight. Definitely not too tight. Make sure that's still good. Move the bolt a little bit. Just the rear O-rings though. Get a little bit of love on the front, but not too much. You don't want to get too much oil on the ball. I'll put this way. It's got, of course, fittings on that side too. All right, so if we look, it's going to be hard to show on camera, but if we look in here, it's very easy on these particular kinds. Wow, both those top hats came off again. That was good. All right. So, like, if you remember, the spool in here is supposed to be backwards with these two here. It's not supposed to be connecting this front one. So if you look in with a hinge frame, you can see the top hole, and you want to see the top hole, and that's when you know you're starting to get in range. So when you see the top hole visible. So we got to take this thing and start cranking on it a little bit. Best we can. If you want to be real anal about this, you can actually measure it, because this is a 10/32 thread or an 8/32. So you actually know it's 32 threads per inch, 32 turns per inch, and you can actually get a caliper in there and find out exactly how many turns you want to go. But that's no fun. Doesn't give the quality struggle that you're supposed to have with an autococker. So I'm starting to see a little bit of shadow. But if I just put air in this right now, all it would do is go out the front and just do that and lock up. See, I want to see this top hole fully exposed, and then we'll push it as far forward as we can until it starts having problems cycling. If we start hearing a minor hiss or really anything that doesn't feel right when it's shooting. We are way back on this thing now. He was really out of time. All right, the top hole is exposed. There's no chance I'm going to show you that on camera. I'm sorry, but it is exposed. We are far enough backwards now. So let's get the HPR back on here. We'll get some air in it. Hose is going to leak. I don't know. Let's put a barrel on it just so we can contain the noise slightly. Let's get these fucking top hats in place. Still way too much there. So if you want to put a top hat on, you really got to make sure what the hell he's doing. Hold on a second. This hose is way too big now.
Let's trim that down. And fuck the top hat. Oof. That's a tight hose. A mechanical advantage. All right, that's a lot cleaner. This one can be as well. Shorten up just slightly. Tiny bit more. All right. Not bad, not bad. Now we did a little modifications to the valve as well, opened it up a little bit. We get a little leak right out the front and the back. Sorry about that, guys. It cut out a little bit, the camera. Timing rod's all the way back right now. Or the collar, rather, is all the way back in the timing rod. So we're going to see what we can do. We might have to shorten the timing rod to work with this particular setup. Still leaking out the front. So, let's see if we can go back any further. Now it's all the way exposed. So if it's leaking, it's either because this thing is being unsealed with this one, and I gotta go forward, or the O-rings are shit. Which shouldn't be the case. They did look pretty good. It's leaking more. So we're going to come forward on it. See if we can get to stop leaking. But before I waste all the air on this tank, I'm going to grab my little nozzle so I can fit it to my air compressor. I don't need to get actual air into this thing. I just need to get enough pressure to have it leak so I can hear it seal up. Hold on a second. All right. Put the rig together. Not much air in my tank, but enough to party a little bit. We're getting near there.
Why it's leaking, that's a different story. I really don't know. I have to replace these O-rings. Not sealing up. All right, almost there. So, I kind of like where the timing rod is, which isn't bad. Let's pull this back out, get the O-rings out of it, replace those with fresh ones, and see if we can get this bastard to seal up. Hold on a second. Alright, so I got another little trick up my sleeve. These are 003 O-rings, and they are 70 durometer. What you can get is 003 O-rings that are 60 durometer and Viton. So a little bit better for abrasion resistance. And they're a little bit softer, so they should seal easier. And consequently also move easier. It's kind of weird how those work in tandem, but they do. Get rid of that. These small O-rings are always a pain in the ass, but they're also easier to get on. Typically. Make sure I'm in camera here. So we're going to replace the rings. Get this lube back up. Okay, we don't want a lot of lube on this. Give it the oil. So it's sealing now, but only when it's forward. All right, so we found the sweet spot.
It's been a pain in the ass. The problem now isn't super correctable. Shut the fuck up. Look at that. Wonder if it's crooked, the shaft in this thing. We're just experimenting here. It can seal, but it's very tricky to do it. And that's sealed all the way forward now. What did he do to this thing? It's amazing how that works. We're not leaking at all now. Next, we want to see how far we're going this way. That's good. That's disintegrated. That's great. We'll replace the bumper with a fat O-ring for right now because we have no other choice. Hold on a second. Don't have a fat O-ring, but I'm just going to use an 008 O-ring on here. It will serve as the bumper perfectly fine. All we got to do is remember to readjust this for the new depth of that bumper. We want to bring this in a little bit anyway. It's, in my opinion, it's a little too far back to throw. So these ones are pretty simple. Loosen the set screw in the front. Just going about a turn and see what that does. Tighten the set screw back up. So we want to make this a little bit in there more. I did catch a short stroke. I was kind of trying, but I caught one. Another half a turn. Make sure the whole thing's coming out, not just the end. 'Cause that's the kind of shit you don't want with an autococker. Alright. That's pretty good. I think it's timed up. Let's get this set screw in here as well. It's very, very soft. where that can be. Trying to abuse it to see how much I can make it cough. To see how reliable we can make this marker. So I don't mind it back there. It's pretty good. I'm being a real asshole trying to make this thing. The other thing, the caveat to this, we are operating this on extremely low pressure right now. This is about 70 psi coming in. So let's get the tank back on it and see if a little bit more pressure will make this seal up a little bit nicer. And going to make this thing act a little bit faster because this should be set for around 80 psi. But I didn't want to burn up the rest of our tank because we have like 1500 psi in here. Look at that fucker. It's kind of upsetting. So, in this case, because it's such a pain in the ass right now, we're going to try to switch over to metric O-rings. I have a plethora of them in many different sizes that are very close to the size that it's supposed to be at. We'll see if we can find one that seals up a little bit nicer. Just something a little bit fatter. Because clearly it's a problem right now. Something's wearing out with time. So, which is a shame because it looks really nice, but it's getting a little too fat. So I'll be right back. Let me get some metric O-rings, and we'll find one that fits up, and we'll get this thing sealed up correctly and clean. The timing feels great. It's definitely shooting right back here. Everything feels really strong. Let's just get this last step done so there's no issues, none of that little cocker hiss or anything like that we don't really want to see if we don't need to see it. So I'll be right back. All right, guys, these are my little 1.5 millimeter width metric O-rings. And they're little fatties. They're about 0.1 millimeters fatter than your standard O-ring. Let's see if these bastards will seal it up. It's going back to 70 durometer. That felt pretty nice. Oof. These are definitely a little bit harder to get on. Because they're not as soft as the 60 durometer ones we were trying to use earlier. But it is possible. A little bit of lube on them. Then the oil.
If you remember, this was up, because why could it be nice and easy to get to when it can be really hard? The way of the autococker. Let's not waste our tank till we know it works. Much less. All right. That's not bad. So that seems to seal up a lot better with a little bit fatter O-ring. So that looks pretty good. We'll get the tank back on it real quick. Make sure we don't have any blowback out the feed neck. And if that's good, let's put this back in too. They'll take her outside real quick and we'll give her a couple shots. Make sure she's chronoing right. And it looks like it's ready to go. I've been fooled before. So this keeps wanting to come out, and that's what's doing it right now. Keep that in. So ideally I get one that's a little bit longer. I can make it so I can get something to hold it in this side. Easily I remember to touch it. That's good. I don't feel much coming out of the feed neck at all. You don't want to feel anything coming out of your feed neck. No bounce out of the feed neck. That's not bad. I like that. We'll give a couple shots through it, see how it's shooting, and I think we're done with this one. Alright guys, we got it dialed in right now. 305, 291. So what I like to do is, with cockers, once you get the valve far enough open, you want to over pressurize it so it closes as quickly as possible. It's not bad. So right now we're over on the valve. We got to lower the velocity, or we got to lower the pressure in it to make it shoot faster. .280s. Little annoying thing right there. We're going to fix that with time. But shooting clean. Definitely work for this weekend for him. Alright guys, this is Andrew at FloryPB. Another quick video hopefully. And yeah, we'll be out for now. Okay guys, quick little update here. I'm sorry I'm holding the camera by hand right now, just because I got fed up with dealing with this thing. So what I did is I just drilled and tapped in a little 10-32 set screw here. I just Loctited it down to make sure this can't move up anymore. Saws is drilled in and just rests against it. This is a point tipped set screw. I want as little contact area as possible, just because that means I got less friction, less surface on surface is less friction. So it keeps this nice and tight, so it's not going to leak anymore. And that was a pain in the ass. I just put a little dab of Loctite on it.
Not really Loctite brand, fake Loctite, but just put a tiny dab, keep that in place, let it dry overnight, and this one's good to go. Alright guys, we're out for now. This is Andrew at FloryPB again. If you guys like this video, please comment, subscribe, like it. If you disliked it, let me know. And we'll do some more real soon, hopefully. Alright guys, we're out.